Okay, well, good morning, everybody. Hello, it is I, Eric Smith, and I am going on a live stream today to answer some questions or some accusations that were made against me yesterday on the Imam Kenny Bomer's show, his live stream. And I'm going to be playing several clips from this just to give everybody an idea of how completely dishonest and disingenuous this man really is when it comes to him dealing with other people. He has made shows all week, call in and ask Kenny Bomer questions. And what's amazing with this is that he's the one that's asking the majority of the questions. As soon as you call in, he's got like 50 questions for you. And let's just forget that little fact, though, that he's the one that's making or asking the majority of the questions. But when people do call in, they're normally talked over, talked down to, and generally ridiculed. There was a guy that had called in yesterday, Latino and proud, and they were discussing. I mean, he kept asking this guy, I mean, it must have been 20, 30, 40 questions. I don't know how many questions he asked the guy, but he just wouldn't stop. And the guy is trying to get an answer out of the imam, and it dealt with Moses in the burning bush, and can God enter his creation? And they went to Surah, I think it was Surah 28, to try to deal with this. And if you go to here's what's amazing about the Quran. The Quran is supposed to be the direct revelation from God, and is supposed to be the exact words of which were spoken at each individual time. But we have all kinds of different narrations of the same event where different things are said. So how can that be from God if God is supposed to, have been there and knows what's going on? But here's what they were talking about. They were talking about, let me share my screen here real quick. I don't want to immediately bore you guys with this, but they were talking about this right here, but it was in chapter 28. And here's where he was complaining it. When he saw the fire, okay, he was called so I may bring you a brand therein, or may find guidance at the fire. Okay, and when Moses, this is Moses, reached the fire, he was called name, O Moses. Now notice, it says, I am the Lord. This name says, I am the Lord. So this means that he's Allah. So take off thy shoes. For why are you taking off your shoes? Because you are on holy ground. You are in the holy valley of Tul. Well, it makes this valley holy. Well, of course, the Quran, which is supposed to be completely clear, never really does clarify that. And he uses this. He goes, notice, it doesn't say the voice came from the bush. It wasn't in the bush. And he starts conflating or pushing the topic away from the fact that Allah has indeed entered into his creation, but yet he could not cite any direct quote from the Quran or a hadith that says that. But unfortunately for the Imam, I had a debate a couple years ago with a gentleman by the name of Radu Shuhabat about this very topic. Can Allah enter into this creation? And this was direct slides from that debate that I had with him. And I also went to the Tasfir from Ibn Kathir, and that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about this verse right here. You want to start using the Quran? You want to say that Allah cannot enter his creation? Well, then you better look in your Quran. According to Pickthall in chapter 27, notice I said this is chapter 27, not chapter 28, not chapter 20. This is 27. Notice it says, when he reached it, the bush, he was called, saying, blessed who is so ever in the fire. Well, where's the fire? The fire is this burning bush that is not consumed. Who's in the fire? Him who is blessed. Who is blessed? Allah. And whoever is round and about it, and glorified be Allah. So here you have a direct example of where God can enter into his creation. And this is where, when you call into the show, you're never able to quite Danny says that he was called away from it. Yeah, he kept saying he was called away from it. He was not called away. The guy's right there in the bush. It's right there. He's in there in the bush. So, try to say that he was called away or try to conflate is just disingenuous. And, that's what I would completely expect what we get from them. Okay, so where do I begin with this? Well, let me begin with a quote made by the Imam. Let me see here. It was made at the 1 hour, 24-minute mark. So let me back this up here. 24 minutes and 49 seconds. 48. That's close enough. All right, so let's just wait a second. Let me stop sharing my screen. Let me share it again because I want to get the audio in here. Hold on just a second. Okay. Okay, my daughter just got here. Okay, we're going to share the screen, share the audio, and let's take a listen to what is said here. As a matter of fact, I don't want to share my screen, but what I'm going to do is I'll just play the audio. Okay, here we go.
Of it. So proud of it, flying the Israeli flag behind them while the Palestinians are being bombed by the Israelis, and claiming that the Palestinians are the problem. And when I say, by example, when I say that I believe that the Palestinians have a right to fight back, now I'm a supporter of Hamas and I'm a supporter of terrorism. I didn't say that. I said that I'm all for the Palestinians fighting back against the atrocities and the oppression in any way that they possibly can. If it's rocks, if it's bottles, if it's a rocket, then they're fighting back against the oppression being committed against them. While this man's flying a Israeli flag. Now, because we put pressure on it, he's changed it to the American flag. But nevertheless, he's consistently doing these things. And a person who does this so consistently and is
Okay, so a couple things here. He says that he has pressured me to stop flying the Israeli flag in my background. How arrogant can you be?
It's a hate flag. Hate flag.
Good. Yeah. I mean, if this wasn't so dishonest and so untrue, I don't even know what to say about that. He says, "Oh well, he's flying the American flag." Well, the reason why I changed it to the American flag the next week is because it was July 4th. That's why it was the American flag. I just didn't put it back up. But you're going to tell me that I can't fly this, or you're going to put pressure on me not to fly this? Guess what, Imam? It's just like, oh, you can't show images of cartoons of Muhammad. Guess what? We show images of Muhammad. Guess what? This thing stays up now. Too bad. So sad. What a arrogant. And then he starts talking about, he did not say he supported the firing rockets of Israel. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Well, let's have a little listen here. Hold on. Maybe
I wanted to say one quick thing too.
Go ahead.
You can support Palestinians and you can support Israelis. They're not mutually exclusive. And I think that this is the problem, that people are like, there's a struggle here. We don't have all the facts that are on the ground. People are traumatized, people are in pain, and instead because people support Israel, somehow people think that invalidates people who are Palestinian. I've never talked to any Israeli or anybody who supports Israel that doesn't support Palestinians. I think support Israel and support Palestinians. Some people support a two-state solution. Some people support situations where Palestinians live in the Israeli territory, and some people believe if there's a two-state solution, people live in the Israelis living, Jewish Israelis living in the Palestinian territory. These aren't mutually exclusive things, so I don't understand.
It's the way they frame it, Isa, and you know this. You know this. It's just the way that they frame the whole argument. It's like those poor Palestinians are the ones that are being repressed, and it's the Israelis who are the apartheid aggressors in this. And when you look at it, the opposite is what is true. The Israelis only protected themselves because these guys were crossing into East Jerusalem and killing Israelis by blowing themselves up all over the place. So they've had to put all these things into place in order to separate themselves. And then this really jerked my chain when he says that he supports the indiscriminate. Listen to it. Okay, let's just listen to what he says as far as how he lies about. Oh, I never said I supported Hamas. Oh, okay. Well, let's take a listen. Let's take a listen to this.
Yeah. And okay. Yes, it's shooting rockets into another country without regard. Yes, let me tell you why it's justified.
Okay, so let me tell you why I can justify indiscriminately firing rockets from the Gaza Strip into Israel. But I don't support terrorism. Oh, no, 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 no. And he even had the audacity to say, well, where did I say that I supported or Hamas was doing it? Well, who the Hades do you think is firing those rockets? And if you say that you support the firing of those rockets, what you're doing is you're supporting the group that fires them. That would be Hamas, a designated terrorist organization, and Islamic Jihad, another terrorist organization. What a conflating, obfuscating, dishonest individual. Okay, Isa, I wanted you to come up and explain to what happened to you yesterday on there, if you could. Let me see here. What is Aladdin? What is this? Aladdin. Where does it say in Quran 27, God entered his creation? You lie big time. Be ashamed of yourself. This is stupidity. I don't know. I don't know. Let's look. I don't. Maybe I am lying. Who knows? It says, when he reached it, he was called, saying, "Blessed is whoever is in the fire." Well, who's in the fire? Where's the fire? The fire is right there in the burning bush, Mister Aladdin. He's in the burning bush. So I'm not sure how you can be so confused about something. Well, I do know how you can be so confused about that. Okay, Issa, were you coming up, or did you step away? Okay, I believe our brother Issa stepped away, unless I am. Rad, can you hear me? Have I muted myself? Oh dear. Okay, so let me jump over to here to see if they can hear me. Maybe I am not. Can. Let me join, and I will debate the subject with you. No, Aladdin, you bore me. You're not coming on here. Okay, Danny hears me. All right, fine. All right. Okay, so let's maybe Aladdin, we could debate that some other time, but we're not today. I got other things to take care of here today. All right, so let's go ahead and back it up here to timestamp 1 hour 1:15 mark, and our friend here in the chat, Danny Davis, had called in and asked the Imam a question about why is he trying to why is he continuing to attack me? Why is he trying to get me fired from a job that I've already retired from? Oh no, he hasn't. We're still investigating that. Good luck. Okay, here we go.
Woman that has nothing to do with what we do online?
No, that's a good question, Danny, and I can see where you would try to suggest that. But let's clarify something. So the consistency of a man defines who he is, right? And so when you're consistently antagonizing, when you're consistently trying to cause trouble and trying to cause division, when you're consistently labeling whole.
Okay, so notice that the consistency of a man defines who he is. So if we were to look at the consistency, and this is what's so amazing about this, is that if we can look at the consistency of the Imam's life, which we have, people in our group here have looked at because of his attacks on me, and we've made them public, then we can't judge him by what he has done in his past. However, it's perfectly okay to attack me for something that you don't know anything about. It only applies to this kafir. Now, notice he said trouble and division. I caught on to that. Notice how he's not saying corruption anymore or anything of that sort. He's changed it to trouble and division because why? Because he knows that if something happens to me in the future, and we've already got the video of it, where one of his sycophants does any type of physical harm to me, he's liable. He's going to be held liable for that. So, yeah. Okay, so let's go to 124 to 34.
Whole religion as being evil or demonic or being from Satan and so forth. and you do this consistently.
Okay, number one, I have not labeled an entire religion evil and demonic. If I have, go ahead and put up and shut up, or shut up, one of the two. I have not. What I have done, though, here's what I have done, and this is what he can't stand, is that I have said that people who follow or who think that Muhammad is a perfect example for all time to follow are spiritually blinded. And I believe that that spiritually that spiritual blindness is indeed demonically inspired. And here's an example. Here's an example. I'm going to continue to bring this up. Muhammad is supposed to be an example. As a matter of fact, I found this last night. I was reading The Reliance of the Traveler. Why? Because I have no life. But anyway, Muhammad was 54 years old, and he crawls on top of a prepubescent nine-year-old little girl and continues to do this, and he calls it marriage. I call it evil, is what I call it. And I call somebody who does that type of thing a pedophile, and I call that type of person a scumbag. Well, when I say that he's a pedophile, that he's a scumbag, well, then that is wrong. Because why? Well, this is a prophet. This guy, he calls him a prophet. I call the guy a scumbag. Danny asked him about, oh, do you think that your evidence against Eric would hold up in a court of law? And this is something that would come up. You think this guy's a prophet? This is why I say these things. And the reason why I say this, is because last night I had just happened to come across, because Kenny was talking about something about the laws of divorce, and I found a couple things about how it's in the book where women cannot leave the house without the man. But that's not what I found that was so illuminating. Let's see here. Here it is. Okay, this is over on page 584. No, it's not. I lied. I misspoke. Let me say that differently. 576. We are in. We're talking about divorce here in N12.2, and this passage here deals with becoming unmarriageable kin by suckling. Rita, okay? And here's what it says in, we call it Bowleg A, in section A here. It says, the milk comes from a female at least 9 years old, at least 9 years old, at least 9 years, at least 9 years old, whether it is occasioned by sexual intercourse or something else.
What? Read that again.
Listen to this. Okay, it's talking about how a woman becomes you cannot marry her, and it's saying that you cannot marry her if she suckled you when you were an infant or a toddler. That's what this is dealing with here. Okay. Now listen. It gives an age. Now, why does it give 9 years old? Well, Aisha, but listen. The milk, you are not marriageable if the milk comes from a female at least 9 years old. Why isn't it 8 years old? Why isn't it 10 years old? Why isn't it 12 years old? Why is it 9 years old? God, it just disgusts me. Whether it is occasioned by sexual intercourse. So a 9-year-old.
No. Here's the thing that we have to point out. Okay, first of all, Eric, please stop calling Muhammad a scumbag, because that is it insult to scumbags everywhere. Yeah. Secondly, this is the thing on this topic of Aisha. Okay, putting all historicity aside, let's say, okay, that this was perfectly acceptable thing to do in 7th century Arabia at one point in time, although I would argue that it wasn't. But let's just say that this was. The thing is that as the Reliance of the Traveler proves, as well as all the other Mutawa books, or whatever we call it, the books on Islamic jurisprudence prove on this very topic, is that not only is it acceptable for Muhammad to do it in the 7th century Arabia, but it is now acceptable for any Muslim man to do this at any place in the world, in any time, in any region, as long as they're a Muslim.
Right. That's
he codified this in law. Okay. So if the Muslims want to bring it, well, look at the state of Delaware. Okay, fine. In the 1700s, yeah, they got rid of that law, or 1800s, whatever it was. Okay. In other words, that's not codified into an eternal law that you can never do away with it. And I think that's just the main difference and why this thing is truly disgusting to me. And the fact that they defend it is truly disgusting to me. But anyway, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, I mean, yeah, the difference is in all of this, and this is what they will never admit, they can't admit, is that Muhammad set this example for all time. So when it says in here 9 years old, it says it for a very specific reason. And it says it for a very specific reason. It doesn't give any other age. And the reason is because Aisha was 9 years old, and that establishes an age of consensual marriage is what it essentially does, because it's the section deals with divorce from who? Well, from a woman. Well, if that woman is 9 years old and you've already consummated that marriage, and that girl, that little girl, has already had a child and she's suckling that child, because it says either by intercourse or otherwise, it says something along those lines, that tells anybody else who would make an application of that law that you can marry little girls for all time, even today, 2021, according to the jurisprudence manual of Islamic law, the Sharia, approved by the 4 schools, main schools of Islamic jurisprudence.